Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to everyone who's joined us for our Teaching Primary Maths Remotely webinar this afternoon. We're absolutely thrilled you could join us. We recognise that lots of you maybe had 24 hours or even 48 hours if you were in Brighton and Hove to prepare for going remote last week. Was it only last week? And of course, others of you in East Sussex, I know, maybe only had a notice of the night before you were going remote the next day. So it really has been all hands on deck and everyone being tested right to the extreme to get themselves up and running with a remote classroom, and many of us in school as well running obviously provision for critical workers at the same time. So I'm delighted to have a wonderful panel with us this evening, and I know in our audience tonight we've got lots of expertise as well, so please don't be at all shy. Please do contribute in the chat box, and if at the end of the session today you would like a second session, a follow-up in a couple of weeks' time with maybe some different presenters, then we're absolutely thrilled to try and get that off the ground for you, because we recognise that at this time collaboration has never been more important, and it's absolutely vital we all work together and share expertise and hopefully share some of the load at the same time. So I will go back to my screen share now, but everyone, I say, hopefully you can see on the screen there, we've got a great array of mastery specialist teachers who are all practitioners working in all phases, in all kinds of settings across Sussex, who are just willing to share how it's going for them at the moment. Okay. So, I've got just a few slides to share with you. The DFE have said that we need to have a planned and well-sequenced curriculum with good clarity in what we're teaching so that all of our pupils can progress. Obviously, this is the January 21 guidance that's updated, I know, all the time, but the latest guidance says that our teaching should be equivalent in length roughly to the core teaching a child would get in a school day. But if you teach normally 45 minutes or an hour of mathematics, of course a recorded lesson may be a lot shorter than that, because there may be lots of opportunities to pause that lesson for children to get interactive as the session plays out. So again, trying to recreate that ping-pong style of experience, even maybe on a video recording. We know some of you are going over to live lessons, and some of our colleagues here today have been doing that, and they'll share their stories and insights on how that's working out. We also know that DFE have asked us all to find a digital platform that will work well for us and for our pupils. So again, tonight we've got a variety of those in different schools that are being utilised. So you can ask the panel if you've got any queries or any questions about any different platform that our team here are currently, say, using in their own schools. And of course, the other thing that we're having to do at the moment in this lockdown is provide that daily contact with teachers. So many of us are doing that via Zoom daily meetings or Google Meet or Teams sessions. And again, it may be something again we want to just compare notes on again this evening, if that's helpful. So I think it'd be good to look at what does the research say about this knotty question about live versus recording, and also talking about how, with these grand aims from the DFE, how schools are practically on the ground tackling these challenges. So let's have a look at this. I think the EEF have just recently brought out, again, actually it was last April, they did a quick rapid assessment of evidence, and they suggest that teaching quality is actually more important than the actual way lessons are delivered, which I think is a huge relief for many of us who would find doing live lessons just, again, quite difficult to try and fit in when you're trying to balance so many other competing priorities at the moment. They have found there's no clear difference between teaching in real time or teaching, again, through a pre-recorded video. The key thing is we're building on pupils' prior understanding, which of course fits in beautifully with everyone and their mastery approach. Here's the agenda for today. As you can see, we've gone for a real teach meet style session this afternoon. We love a good teach meet because we always know we're going to learn something new, hopefully, from somebody on the team or on the panel. And the idea is that everyone's going to give only 4 or 5 minutes of their time to kind of share an insight, but then be available throughout the session to answer questions in the chat box. So please, we're going to put lots of hopefully links in the chat box today, sharing top tips, answering questions, getting some lively conversation going. please again feel free to type in there. And I'm so delighted to have, as well as the panel who are presenting today, Rebecca Turville and hopefully Jo Stedman along to help run our chat box this afternoon, along with all the panel who will answer questions on anything they think they might be able to help you with today. So have a quick glance at what's coming up. I'm not going to go through it in great detail because you're going to enjoy it hopefully as the hour plays out today. We hope it's going to be a lively hour, an informative hour, and above all, really a supportive session. So no one feels alone out there, and everyone knows they can always say, come back to us and say, I'd like a bit more information about something, and we can always send out links and more suggestions again after today's meeting. And I'm thrilled as well to say that we're going to try and get a Padlet organised at the end of the session, so that you guys at home and all of us can all share again our top tips for Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2 together, so we can then produce a document that again everyone can have access to. So I hope that sounds okay. And even if not everything on the agenda today is up, it's relevant to you personally, it shouldn't be longer than 5 minutes before something else will come along. You'll think, yes, this will just meet my needs and hopefully be more relevant to my own setting and my own situation. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over now to Emma to talk about NCETM resources and her use of Seesaw.
Thank you, Jenny. I'm just going to share my screen and hopefully you can all see that. Yeah, okay, brilliant. So hi everyone. At MyLoc, we have decided that we would use Seesaw as our platform to share our lessons with children. And so I thought I'd just talk very briefly about how we go about that. So we pre-record all of our daily maths lessons using our own PowerPoints or flips or smart notes, whatever teachers are most confident with. We try to keep our videos to 10 to 15 minutes. So whilst we're producing our own PowerPoints and flips, we make really good use of the NCETM PD spine. So I'm hoping that people here might have had the opportunity to look at those. Those are the professional development spines, which run through the curriculum, including PowerPoints and explanations based purely to develop teachers' subject knowledge and how to teach. So I've put a link onto this slide for those if you haven't had a chance to see them. Thoroughly recommend them. The animations on there are so fantastic, and we found them really crucial to children's understanding of different concepts, so definitely worth checking out. So our teachers sort of mix them in with their own PowerPoints. We've also used a lot of sort of IC reasoning and White Rose, so we're using just in the same way as we would if we were teaching in school. We're using a lot of different resources to support teachers. We're trying to use ping pong in the same way. So a lot of pause the video now and have a try using worked examples. And that's because we were really keen to keep building upon the skills that our staff had developed to teach for mastery, but also because we've seen the benefits of that in ensuring children are really clear on how to complete some of the examples and clear on the concepts they're being taught. So lots of worked examples that stay up on the screen, child pauses and maybe has a go. In line with our school policy, we use flamingo challenges, but whatever you use in your school in the way of providing further challenge, a greater depth activity, those will be available for our children on all of the sides as they would in school and as further activities on Seesaw. Likewise, we have lots of support materials, and we have tried to, where possible, provide children with as many different options to respond to the work as we possibly can, and we found that gives us a far greater engagement as we move forward. So just a few examples there that I pulled off of things that children are doing. Some children more creative, making things like pattern bracelets and things. Others prefer to be writing and what have you. But that's one of the reasons that we went with Seesaw. We were really impressed with the fact that children could use their voice and things like that, which I know lots of others can too. And then throughout the day, we feed back between 8:30 a.m. and 2:30 p.m. And that has been the thing. I've just received the results on our first survey, and that has been the thing that parents have said has been so fantastic. And it really has enabled us to ensure that our focus is on children making progress. As children hand in their work or provide responses, the whole team, and we've put people into remote learning teams, provides constant feedback. And you know, so you know, sometimes there'll be 10 children submit something, they'll get some written or voice feedback, and they get to have another try or what have you. We're really conscious of the assessment part, and we know we're supposed to be assessing children. We have had children dramatically increase in scores in certain subjects across, so I'm not sure how much support they're getting at home, but we're using lots of concept cartoons, mini quizzes, and we really are using self and peer assessment, teaching children how to respond to each other's work there. So and that's been really positive. And as I say, it was the thing that got the greatest, parents said, had the greatest impact on their children's engagement, motivation and progress. In addition to that, we are providing live Zoom meetings. And there's lots of different reasons we do those. One-to-one sessions for children that we know might struggle if they're working alone. We also do some small groups, and that could be for additional support. So it could be through the dialogue that's happening in the day. We call children into Zooms in the afternoon. We've also got sort of greater depth challenges, as we would have had in class, where children can log on and get their greater depth challenge and take part in some of the Zooms. And we are really conscious, you'll see down there the key addition facts for Key Stage 1 just there. We have quite a lot of groups that go on for that across Key Stage 1 and reception, and we were keen that those continued. So those still continue live, and we've assigned those to gemstones in our school. So children progress through the gemstones as they make those generalizations and become clear on those fluency tasks. Then we might do a bit of pre-teaching and over-learning. So some of the resources that we're using for this is the mathematics guidance that came out and from Key Stages 1 and 2, which has the ready to progress criteria. And I'm going to fly through because I don't want to take up other people's time. So it basically boils down the critical knowledge that children need in order to progress successfully through the rest of the curriculum. Now, it does not contain everything in the national curriculum, but we are really conscious that children missed out on some of their learning in school last year. So it's about prioritising and ensuring children can access the learning. So some of the pre-teaching would come from this, and I can just show you here. They come with nice PowerPoints, and they're so brilliant because they've got the questions on, they've got the correct language, we're using the STEM sentences, and again they're animated in the same way as we've become accustomed to with the NCETM professional development spines there. So I think that was a flyby in 5 minutes, but I put the links on there because I would just my one thing would be go and have a look at these two things, the PD spines and the ready to progress exemplification materials, because they are taking on so much of the workload for teachers. You know their quality, they're NCETM badged, the language is right, and the representations are there to support children in their understanding. So they've been a real saviour for staff sanity, maybe. Okay, so I hope that was helpful, and I'm always happy to be contacted around anything that people would like to later on. Back over to you, Jenny. I'll stop sharing.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Emma. That's wonderful. And we're going to hand over now to Laura, and I believe I've got Laura's slides. So just a second, I'll go back to my screen share.
Jenny.
Yep.
I was just going to give a quick overview of using Google Classroom. My school has been using Google Classroom, and we started our journey last term with Google Classroom. So we had a staff meeting to start it all off, where we had someone come in showing us how to use Google Classroom, how to get us all set up so that we could get our classroom set up, and then we got all the children set up in school as well. We then switched our homework through Google Classroom so that the children had the opportunity to practice using it and parents would be familiar with it, so that we were ready for, at that point we were thinking bubble closures. And then we switched our staff meetings and celebration assemblies to Google Meet as well, so that we were getting more and more familiar with the different ways that we could use Google Classroom. We did have some bubble closures last term, and we were then able to use Google Classroom to set the learning and for children to submit it and for us to give feedback as well. So the teachers in those year groups had a bit of a head start on us for this this term, and were able to help us a lot. We also produced some user guides for parents. So one of our teachers made some videos that we were able to share with the parents so that they were given a bit more support on how to access that at home. So we are now in a situation where we're using it, Google Classroom, as much as possible. So all of our learning is being set on Google Classroom every day so that children can access it. They are then able, we submit it as Google Docs so the children can actually edit it themselves, and then they submit it to us and we're able to provide feedback that way. For the maths at the moment, we're using the White Rose material. So we're currently uploading the White Rose videos and worksheets, but we're putting some supplementary tasks on there if we need to, if we've got children that we know need something slightly different. We are using pre-recorded videos for English. And we've just this week started using live lessons through English this week, but we will be moving on to doing them with maths as well. We've had quite a few teething problems as we start doing it, but we found that actually the children and the parents have been incredibly supportive, giving us some really positive feedback, which is really encouraging because it can be quite nerve-wracking when you start doing the live lesson. So it's really nice to have that positive feedback and the support from people at home as well. We've also been using the Google Drive in school for sharing a lot of information because you've got the live documents within Google Drive. So we've been using that for our tracking sheet. So if we've got more than one person giving feedback within one class, then we keep it as a live document in tracking sheet so we can see who has received feedback, who we've not heard from, who we need to contact, and it's a really useful tool for us. As it's a live document, we can all work on it, we can all access it, and it's constantly up to date. So that's where we are at the moment. We are then going to be moving towards the maths videos, so moving away from White Rose and creating our own maths videos and having live sessions as well for maths. We've also been exploring having live sessions with the children who are currently in school as well. At the moment, the children in school are joining in with our live lessons through the teacher's computer so that they're still getting access to that as well, but we're also looking at how we can then provide some more targeted support for those children who are in school and having some additional live sessions for them. We're also thinking about how we can have live sessions through Google Meet too for some of our SEND children, our vulnerable children who might just need that little bit of one-to-one support. And Jenny introduced me to Mote this week, which I'm excited about using as well, because that's a way for us to give verbal feedback through using your voice and recording things. So that's the journey we're on at the moment. It is a steep learning curve, but there's lots of exciting ways that we can use it, and we're still learning. So we've learned a lot already, but still got a long way to go. And Kate's going to talk about the manipulatives.
That's lovely. Thank you so much, Laura. And the Mote, I know we've just been putting the links in there. Rebecca's putting links into the chat box. If you want to download Mote, and you can then record 1 minute and 30 voice recording, and the children can also download it and they'll be able to record back to you too, have conversations, which is fantastic, isn't it? Okay, excellent.
Okay, hopefully you can all see my screen. I'm going to give you a real whistle-stop tour through a couple of virtual manipulative sites that you can find. This is the first one, and it's Toy Theatre, which you could probably imagine by it's the way the theatre is spelt, that it's an American site. And it's really easy to use. So when you go onto the website, the first thing you see is this bar. If you click on the bit that says math, another clue that it's American, you can choose either by the kind of activity you want to find or by the age group that you want to find activities for. It's really easy to use. If you click on the teacher bit on the right-hand side, it takes you to a page of virtual manipulatives. There are so many on here. This is only a screenshot of the top of it. There must be probably 40 or 50 different ways, different manipulatives that you can use. So if we just quickly have a look at a couple of them. So there's a part whole model, and with this you can click and drag any numbers you want to in there. I think just about every one has different levels. Every one of the sites within the site has different levels that you can choose that are relevant to your age group. Another one, just for sort of older children, is a perimeter one, area and perimeter. And again, as you can see on the one on the right, you could choose whether you have the perimeter units put in or the perimeter units not put in, and the same for area. So it's really easy to use, really intuitive. The second one is MathSpot, which when we were first introduced to this in Birmingham, I remember a gasp went around the room because it just seemed all our prayers had been answered. So if you go onto MathSpot, this is the first thing that you'll see. And if you click on the manipulatives button, it'll take you to, again, a whole raft of different virtual manipulatives. I think this probably is about all of them, but really everything there, all the ones that you could possibly want. So having clicked on one of them, let's have a look at double-sided counters. As you can see, you can choose different colors of counters, you can flip them, you can copy, you can put as many as you want on there. It's really worth just having a play around if you've got a spare few minutes on this, and it's really easy to use. There's Deans, which again, you can click and you can remove them, you can put more on, you can choose the base you want to use. So many different things you can do with it. There's 10 frames. Again, you can choose the color, you can choose whether it's a 10 frame or a 5 frame or however you want it to be done. You can fill it, you can remove the dots, add the dots, all manner of things that you can do with it. So that's a really quick whistle-stop tour of that. And finally, just a few things that you can do. We talked last week, I know, about things that the children can go and get. And talking to an early years teacher friend said that they love nothing more than to be asked to go and get pairs of pants and socks. So, you know, just to say, use whatever there is around. Stairs can provide so many different bases for activities. I've just put a few ideas there. And this one I particularly loved. Who needs double-sided counters when they've got Jaffa cakes? A great one to use. And finally, raisins. Lots of things you can do with raisins before the children eat them. So that's a real quick tour of that. But hopefully that's just giving you some things that you might want to go away and try at another time.
Kate, I agree with you. I gasped as well when I saw mathspot.com. It's absolutely fantastic, isn't it? And I hope people got lots of ideas. And I thought as well that both those resources would be great again for doing any live teaching you might have to do. If you had support staff or trainee teachers or any of your other members of your team who are doing any live sessions for small groups, it's great because you can be really responsive to their needs, can't you, if you're using something like that, a live manipulative, and you can actually adjust things as you're going, responding to the children. So that's great. Thank you so much. And now we're going to go over to James, who's going to talk to us about Loom. Now, we had some questions about some of our sites we're using, our platforms like DB and Seesaw. I know we used DB in my school, some of the year groups, and it kept crashing last week because of the weight of the videos we were putting up. We started using Loom, and then we could just put a link up there, and suddenly things have been running a lot more smoothly. So if you haven't used Loom before, now is your chance to have an expert guide, and I hope we've got James there ready to go for it. Thank you, James.
Hi, Jenny. Yeah, thanks very much. Expert may be over-egging the pudding a bit. I'm very much learning as I go with this. My school started using Loom last week. And it's been a bit of a process since then. If some of you are already using Loom, you'll already know what a fantastic resource it is. So I just want to share a couple of the things with you that I think will be useful, and I'll put these links up as well. The first one is, this is the website to go to, loom.com/education, because you can get an education verified account, which will enable you to use a lot more of the resources. It gives you much longer upload video times. And everything is completely free if you do it through there. And I just really want to show you the power of Loom. So I've just got it pinned to my taskbar there. This is what it looks like when you first start, and it really couldn't be any more simple, I don't think. My web camera typically has decided to give up the ghost just at the point I need it. But what you would get normally here is just the view from your webcam, a view in a circle, and you can change the size of that circle. You can make yourself full screen if you want to. It's really up to you. But where this can come in incredibly useful is when you're actually talking over the top of things that you want to present to children. So I just was going to give you a quick example. Jenny, can I just double check? Can you still see my screen? Has it come up with the questions? Just a few issues going on this end. And all I have to do if I've installed Loom to talk about these, these are, if any of you know Third Space, these are some of their Fluent in 5 questions that my children will be talking about in Year 5 tomorrow. So all I have to do is hit start recording. I will pop up in this window here, and I just have to start talking. And the nice thing is I can move myself around. I can put myself here. If you could see me on the webcam, it would definitely help. But I can point at certain things. I can talk clearly through exactly what I want to do with them. I can make myself very big. And what I typically do there, and again, it's a shame I can't show you. I'm so sorry that the text.
Yeah, we're having some problems with text tonight. We can't see much more than your kind of home screen, I don't think, for that. So sorry.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wonder whether it's if you share, when you're sharing a thing which has a video in it, you have to optimize for video when you share your screen, that option.
That would be something new for me to learn. Do you know where I do that?
So when you go to shared screen, at the bottom, after you've picked your screen, there's 2 boxes that you tick, and that might help.
Okay, yeah, I've got both of those ticked actually.
Okay, that's sorry, that's all I got.
No, I apologise. This worked earlier when I was trying it out. Sorry, Jenny, what can you actually see so far?
We're seeing a blank screen now. There's a blue screen, so I think it's not liking it. I think the key thing is you can just tell us really, James, you know,
yeah,
you started using Loom a week ago. So how quickly did you learn it? How quickly your team learned it and adapted to it? Have there been any hitches or glitches, and how have you overcome anything like that?
Apart from this glitch just now, it's been completely straightforward. What you'll find is if you use Loom, as soon as you finish recording the video, you press stop record and a web page will automatically open where that video downloads. And then you've got, as Jenny was mentioning earlier, you've got one of 2 options. Either you can give children a link to that video and they can go online and find it themselves, or you can download it. I mean, the longest videos I've uploaded so far are about half an hour. They download in probably about 2 or 3 minutes, and then I can add them to my Google Classroom, the assignments that I'm setting for children there, and it takes probably another couple of minutes. So I haven't found a single issue with that at all. The one thing I would say is very often what I do is I get my whiteboard and there's me in my circle with my whiteboard, and I'm talking children through things and writing them as I go. I cannot stress enough how difficult I found it when I first did this, because I suddenly realized as soon as I started writing, everything was backwards because of the camera and everything else. So the first session, I taught myself to write all my numbers backwards, and that was quite challenging. And then, of course, in the preferences, if you just go into preferences, there's actually a little button you can click that says flip camera. And if you switch that off, you don't have to write all your numbers backwards anymore. So that will definitely save you a lot of time. Like I say, I'll drop as well into the chat. There's a very helpful webpage I found that shows you how you can trim videos. If there's bits in the middle you wanted to get rid of where you suddenly, you know, need a glass of water and disappear or whatever else, you can do that. It's incredibly intuitive, very useful, completely free. And apart from tonight, we haven't found a single tech issue with it at all. So I really can't recommend it highly enough.
Thank you. And my team equally, after our crashing problem last week with DB, have all taken to Loom. And I have to say, people who were quite hesitant and resistant to begin with are absolute converts now, and they're not going back. They're Looming everything. So I really would say to you, do get an account, as James has an education account, which is free. Do have a play, and you will probably quickly find you are, it's very intuitive, and you'll quickly be a new adopter of that. So thank you very much. Thanks for the link there, James. Okay, next up this afternoon is Kevin. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about DB Primary. So obviously there was a few problems last week, but this week we found it to be really good in our school. So we use DB Primary, and we also use premium White Rose resources, and that's really, really cheap resource, and we've been using that since September. In our school at the moment, we've got all our teachers are in classes, sort of covering key work on vulnerable children. So what we want to do is to make sure that the children who are learning in school, those same lessons are obviously being sort of for those children at home as well. So the tasks that we set on DB Primary, all the lessons throughout the school, the maths lessons that are taking place. So what we do is that we have a short video. Each teacher records, or each year group records a short video introducing the concept, and that's really important for the children. So if they were going to be doing a work on, say, measures with meters and centimeters, that the children need to know what that concept is. So that would be the teacher having a short video, 5 minutes, and then we upload that onto DB Primary. And then we use White Rose Premium Resources. So I'm just going to share our screen and just show you the White Rose Premium Resources on there. So this is just the outline of a sort of year 6 one, and we found this to be really, really sort of useful. So if you sort of click on each of these, then we should see. Sorry, it's not working. Right. Okay. What I'll do is I'll go on to I'll just show you the PowerPoint that goes with this. Can you see this? Yeah. Okay. So what we do is that we upload the teaching slides, and these are the teaching slides here. So we would have had a 5-minute video of the teacher introducing the concept. The children have the teaching slides here, which are really good. They can sort of like access and to go through. So there's an introduction, and then it's really good with the representation sort of side on that. So we encourage the children to go through that. We then upload onto DB Primary the questions to go with alongside that, and we also have the answers as well. So we find that the children then, if they have the answers there, if the parents have the answers there, that they can sort of like, if there is an issue or a problem with one of the questions, that they've got the right answers there to have a look at. And then they upload their answers back on DB Primary. And as all the teachers will be sort of like checking and marking their work throughout the day. We found it really useful as well on DB Primary. We set up a forum, a year group forum. So if there are any issues with children's work, then they can sort of like type into that forum, and the teachers can sort of like respond sort of like straight away. So each of the classes will have that forum sort of running throughout the whole day. And we found that, say, if there's an issue with perhaps like a question, or 1 or 2 children perhaps like have a difficulty in answering that we can like instantly feed back sort of to them as well. So we found it to be working sort of really, really well, especially at the moment when sort of everyone's time is really, really precious. You've not just got maths, you've got other subjects to teach as well. And we found that the response of the children sort of going through that is really, really good. So it's DB Primary on that, and White Rose Resources. As I said, the teaching slides are really good, and the worksheets, we found as the children have been really responsive to that as well.
It's fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing and giving us an insight into how that's going for you. Next up, we've got Mel, who's been very brave and been doing some live lessons on Zoom. So over to you, please, Mel.
You're muted, Mel.
Not very helpful, sorry. Thank you for that. I've been telling children all day about that as well, ironically. So this is basically where I am at the moment. I'm working in a classroom, fortunately at school, and I have my 2 workstations set up all day, from when we start in the morning from the year 6 lessons all the way through doing all the year groups, and I finish off in the afternoon with year 5s, so they're all in a funny order throughout the day. So I'm lucky enough to have the 2 kind of places to log on. So I have the main one that I'm working on, which is my teacher one, my laptop on the table where I'm logged on as the host, and then I log on as a participant so that I've got everyone up on a big screen in front of me, which means I can see them, they can see me, and it feels like I'm not alone in the room quite so much. I've found over the past week that I've been doing this, it is just so key to be prepared and organised and keep to timing and keep structure. So one of the things that I'm making sure I'm doing at all times is when I start my meeting, share the screen before I let anyone in. It's just little things like that, so then they don't start to chatter to each other too much. They get on, they have something to do straight away, whether it be looking at the work from the previous day or a little challenge up on the screen. And trying to make sure that they know little housekeeping things. So last week we started off on the first 2 days back, so we were slightly further through the week starting back because of our term dates as an academy. So on Thursday and Friday we just did a couple of days where we were just making sure everyone can get on, making sure a majority of families were able to access, and our school has been running things on Zoom quite a lot over the last 6 months. With liturgies and things and getting people in from home. And we record sessions so that if any children do miss it, then we can potentially send off the recordings to them. And that's another reason for having the 2 workstations on, so that then there's no kind of GDPR or anything like that, because no faces are there. We may have first names mentioned, but that's okay because it's not too much detail. And parents know that they're being recorded as well. It has been really good for avoiding misconceptions. So, for example, yesterday there was a question in a year 2 lesson with position and direction, and the child had said about where the shapes were positioned in relation to one another, and said, it's the cuboid is on top of the rectangle. And I said to them, oh, I can see a rectangle, but is that a rectangle there? And she turned to her mum and said, see, mum, I told you, it's a cuboid. So it's then seeing that actually the parent had almost taught that misconception, and then by me saying actually it's a cuboid, the child was able to say, well, actually I knew and you didn't. So it was quite a nice moment for that child as well. You still do have to do some behaviour management. Not all the children are looked after on screen, so we've had a few friends come along. We've had the cat and we've had cuddly toy, and you just say to them, oh, do you want to show me that at the end? And just making sure we're timing that obviously we let everyone in on time and finish on time as well. So that's what I've been saying to the children is, okay, I have to stop now. If you need to speak to me briefly at the end, I will stay on for 5 minutes, but it's allowing that within my timings, but not leaving any child at the end of a lesson not understanding what they've been doing. Resources is something that has been a bit of thing to overcome as well. So children don't necessarily have a ruler at home, so we've had to be making sure that children have rulers. We work on power maths, so we have been making sure children have got their power maths books so that they can access the learning. And the one nice thing about being able to do this as live lessons is we can continue those power maths lessons, and the children are familiar with that, so they're not doing something completely different from what they usually would. And we are monitoring children online, so I'm ticking off registers when they come in, so there's a few minutes at the beginning ticking off. Things that I've learnt are keep them muted, teach them that they can mute themselves, and say to them, get someone to show you where the mute button is. I've learnt about unmuting children from this end, and that takes a slight delay. So it's allowing for that as well, knowing that it's going to take a little bit of delay, but having them up on screen is really good because you can see when they come off mute. The chat has been really good for some year groups, but I do give them warnings that if they do anything they shouldn't be doing in the chat, or if they start having a chat to their friend on there, I'm going to lock that. And being able to kind of go between those boxes, between the participant box, between the chat box and what you're teaching, becomes a bit of a skill in a way, I think, and you can become quicker at that the more you're doing it. And disable your annotation tools. Year 6 will find them. I didn't realise this. I forgot about annotating tools. My year 6s did find it and write hiya on the screen in a smiley face. But after I said to them that they'd have to have a grown-up sat next to them for their lessons, they did stop, but I disabled it today, so they didn't do it again. So it's been a learning curve. I'm in a very, very fortunate position that I can be out doing this so that all of the home learners from years 1 to 6 are getting live lessons. We have quite a lot of children in school as well, so it's a challenge in that respect as well, in that every teacher is in, so it's hard for them to be recording lessons and putting them on outside of the school day when we've still got planning and all those other responsibilities really. And I just find I am in a very nice position to be able to do this and to offer the maths teaching that we hope the children would get in school. Because in each classroom as well, we've put plans together about what the best things are to teach that could be taught in isolation. So we're not teaching necessarily in the order we usually teach things, but we're teaching what is most accessible and being adaptable to what the children can access at home and the equivalent at school.
Mel, we've had a question in the chat about, because it's Power Maths, do the children do their questions live with you, or do they do that once they've logged off?
No, so I do keep them live with me. Just then I can scaffold those children that need scaffolding. So I have said to the children, once we've done so they're quite used to it, they're quite familiar with structure here at St Mary's, so they know that the colour slides that come up on the board are from the textbook, and then we go into the black and white slides that are their workbook. And I will say to them straight away, once I've finished going through all of the teaching slides, so to speak, that you're free to go off on your own now, work as far as you would like to work on your own. If you want to come back to me at any time, come back to me. If you want me to work through with you, I'll work through with you. So we've had a whole range from my year ones who tend to work through slide by slide and talking to each other, and you can see them silently celebrating for getting those answers, to the year 5s and 6s who are literally going off on their own and then just pinging into me and saying, can I go on to question 4? Or is it okay, I've gone to the challenge now? I do get moments where the children are saying, I'm stuck on a question. And I just say to them, if you just give it a read through again, we're getting to that question next, and we can talk through that together. So there is that level of being able to scaffold children through the learning as we go through.
Great, thank you very much, Mel.
Thank you, Mel. I think you made 2 really important points there. I mean, one, first of all, changing the order of the content you're delivering, so it's still coherent, but you might decide some topics do not lend themselves well to remote and others do, so you might want to have a bit of a switch around in your medium-term plan, so that's really helpful. And I think we had comments in the chat as well today about how most of us, if we're doing anything live, tend to try and get a second adult to help us. It sounds like you're really trying to cover so many bases there. I think, again, it'd be great if you had some support with all of that. And I know lots of us, again, do have a second sort of support staff member who's there to help manage chat and to manage all those other sort of, you know, again, admin issues around the session. But thank you so much. And we're now over to Nina, who I hope to talk about Kahoot today, because we had lots of questions in the chat box about interactive quizzes and assessment and that sort of thing. So Nina, over to you, please, and manipulatives as well. Thank you.
Hello, so I'll just share my screen because I've got Kahoot up to show you. We're using, sorry, my system settings won't let me share my screen. Shouldn't take a second, sorry. We're using Kahoot as a bit of a bolt on to the rest of our learning to try and engage learners. I teach, will not be able to, quit. Sorry, I'll try again. It wanted me to quit altogether. Can you see it now? Yeah, but I'm muted again, aren't I?
We can hear and see, it's fine.
Fantastic, sorry about that. So this is the Kahoot. I'm sure you've probably seen it before. It's just kahoot.com. You can sign up for a free account. They do have a premium. I haven't had enough time to look at yet what the premium membership covers, but I haven't had any barriers in what I want to do with the free one, so that's always good. So yeah, we're using this as a bolt on to the lessons that we're doing, just to try and really engage those students that struggle to do home learning, students that don't have a laptop or even an iPad at home. It can be accessed on just a phone. You don't need a large screen to be able to access it, so it kind of helps with those families that don't quite have the funding for the technology. Also trying to use it as a bit of an assessment tool. As one of the other presenters said, it's hard to gauge at the moment which work students are doing independently, and obviously it is the same for this as well, but you get a little nice report from the quiz at the end that can show where students are having misconceptions. So it's really easy to create a quiz. I'm doing ones that link in with the White Rose Maths Premium resources because that's what we're using for our lessons, and I'm also doing some exam-based ones because I teach students that do functional skills exams. So when you put a quiz together, it's really, really easy. I've just got a couple of examples to show you. And I've screenshot these ones are actually from the Flashback 4 White Rose materials. So you don't necessarily have to think of the questions yourselves. You can use the ones that would link to the lesson that you're doing, or like the Flashback 4 that take you through fluency stuff throughout the year group that your students are working on. In terms of differentiation, I really like the time limit, particularly for my guys with special needs. It goes as low as 5 seconds, I think, but that's not practical for some of our learning, so I put it on the maximum. And you can have a choice. So this is a multiple choice question, and as you can see, there's more than one answer. You can have multiple choice questions which have 4 incorrect answers, and you can really get into your variation there. There's also different types of questions. So I've done a true or false one. Today is Monday, so tomorrow is Sunday. So yeah, you just put your questions in. It's really easy to drag images across. So I've been screenshotting a lot of mine from White Rose from the PD materials. There's some more questions I haven't had a chance to play with yet, but some puzzles and the polls. It can be quite fun to drop in the odd random question like, well, what did you have for breakfast, or what colour are your socks, just to add that sort of fun element to it. You can also personalise the music, I believe. So if you've got certain music that you know that your class like, just to get that sort of relationship bonding that you would normally have in class that we don't have at the moment without seeing our pupils. The other one I've personally done is taking questions from an exam paper, because that's appropriate to my guys, but I'm sure that's not quite for a lot in primary. So the report section is hidden behind me. So once students have done the quiz, you get a nice report and it shows them which questions they've struggled with, which is going to be really helpful and can inform your planning moving forward. To get students to sign up to the account, they don't need to have to the Kahoot, they don't need to have their own account, they just need to have the PIN. So once you have created quizzes, you click play. So let's go to the home. I had one of them on, didn't I? So once the question is completed, it's hiding between the photos, which makes it difficult, sorry. It validates it, tells you if you've forgotten to put any answers or anything like that. You can test it, preview it, make sure that it's all as you like. And then there's normally a play button. Am I missing it? You basically just get a short PIN number. I think it's 4 or 5 digits. This is the screen. 4 or 5 digits that comes up, and the students put that into their device. So they don't need to have an account or anything like that to join. It's quite simple. The other thing I wanted to show you quickly, I know they've been talked about a lot today already, so I won't keep you very long, but I already had a couple of slides that I put together for a previous presentation on virtual manipulatives. My colleague spoke about toy theatre and MathsBot earlier. I just wanted to point out Cool Maths Kids is really good, particularly for your younger ones, because you can create tens frames and stuff like this with really sort of engaging pictures that some of my kids really like. There's lots of different ones there, and this document that I've created before is hyperlinked, so if you tap any of these it will take you to where you can find that. Most of them are free, and some of the app ones for iPads and stuff, I've had children, I did some research on this before on a project, and I've had it so the children can use the manipulatives themselves. So whereas Toy Theatre and MathsBot that are really good as teacher tools for screenshotting for your live lessons or pre-recorded lessons, stuff like the apps on iPads can be really good if you've got students that are used to using manipulatives hands-on in your lessons. You could hopefully train them to do it, be able to do it at home. I hope that's helpful.
That is fab and answers more questions that we had in the chat today. So thank you so much for that. Really helpful. And I hope lots of you are going to go and try Kahoot if you haven't tried it already. I say really easy and really fun to get involved with. So now we're going to go over to Lizzie for a bit of a flavour of foundation stage. Thank you, Lizzie.
Hi, yeah, we have been using Tapestry. So Tapestry is a platform that in my school I've been using since being in reception. Let me see if I can share my screen. There we go. Let's see. Sorry, it's just being a little bit slow. So yes, we've been sharing videos. So because we already have Tapestry set up for parents to use, it's been quite a seamless transition for us. We just needed to make sure that parents were able to log in and could access everything that we were putting up there. They have been videos. We've also been able to upload photographs and other things on there as well. We've been focusing mainly around the White Rose, but we have had to change a few bits and pieces along the way to make sure that children can actually access what we want them to do at home. So the first thing that we did was we sent out a video explaining to parents what we wanted them and the children to be doing at home. We really wanted to be animated from the start and for the children to remember that we're still here and that we can still have that strong communication with parents. So my face will appear on these slides, but I have taken them straight from the videos that we have been posting, but they do link to the maths involved. So we've been mainly trying to build on fluency. That's one thing that we really didn't want to have slip whilst that we were doing home learning. So we wanted to keep developing those strong firm foundations. So one of the ways that we've been doing this is by creating a really fun character that the children could engage with, this exactly the same as what we would do in the classroom. And we've got that little, we've chosen a crocodile to actually be doing all of those fluency lessons for us. So seeing if they can find missing numbers, see if we're able to do the one more, the one less. And these little videos are done so they can watch one video, answer it, give it a go, move on to the next one. And we've done some of them where we give the answers straight away, and others we actually wait because we want that involvement and that engagement for them to send in videos to show us explicitly what they've been doing at home. So these pictures that you can see at the moment, they've got Numicon in them, but we are aware that a lot of children don't have access to that at home. So then some of the videos that have been really successful have been those videos where I've created them for parents to show what they can use at home. And we've had lots of videos back of children using chocolates, using Lego, using different things from their classroom to really help their maths come along. We wanted to make sure that we were using sort of excellence, but through simplicity. We didn't want to overwhelm. We've kept the videos short but sweet, but with a very clear understanding with what we wanted from them. So how many times can you write the numbers in 1 minute? Giving them quick challenges that we know a 4- or 5-year-old would be able to do and actually get something from. And then we've also been doing a really good thing with parents where we're signposting and giving them parent support. So we've been using number blocks since the children started to come into reception. So we've been using something that they know and that they love. So we've given them the links to those websites, but we've actually been giving parents the information to use those videos in a supportive way. So we've given them examples of challenge questions, as well as other activities that they can do to follow up those lessons as well. So I hope that's been helpful. That's what we've been doing with Tapestry. So yeah.
Thank you. And if any colleagues out there have got more suggestions for EYFS, please put them in the chat box now. We'd love to hear from you too. And now it's over to take us into Key Stage 1. Annabelle, please, some interactive ideas. Thank you.
Hello. Well, my focus has been on remote learning to engage Key Stage 1 parents and carers during our twice-a-day daily Zoom meetings that we have. So we're still offering through Google Classrooms with the use of White Rose maths lessons, but we're supporting that through our Google Classroom, through our Zoom meetings. So I'll just try and share my screen now, see how successful we are. Okay, so I've done this on a Word document with some links and picture cues so that it's an easy document to get straight out to you. Just going to move myself across. What you can see on the screen now, I know you can't read it, but it's just the EEF's summary of recommendations for improving maths in early years and Key Stage 1. And I've looking more closely at point 2 that they make. We've really tried to focus on this dedicating time for children to learn maths and integrate maths throughout the day. Obviously, there are great opportunities at home if we can guide the parents well enough for them to be really bringing out the best of those one-to-one opportunities of developing mathematical language. So we've been using this time of extended remote learning to really share ideas that are really simple and yet meaningful maths activities to do at home, and basically seeing it as an opportunity to run twice daily parent-carer workshops. And I'm echoing a lot of what Lizzie said actually, but just moving it on for the children aged 5 to 7-year-olds. So we encourage movement as much as possible, because obviously we've got these little ones and we're having up to 40 children on each of the Zoom classes twice a day. It's been really successful. One of the games that we play is stand up, sit down game. So we will suggest a target number. So if it's 10, if I say 2 groups of 5, then we'd expect them to all stand up. And then if I said 2 plus 3 plus 4, then they sit down. So you can really be flexible with that, and they love it, and it gets them, they realise they're not expected to sit quietly for the whole of the session. These were mentioned earlier by Emma, Gareth Metcalf's IC Reasoning lessons, a really great resource because he actually takes you through how to use manipulatives at home, and they could print off really fun games to do. Our year ones, we've actually sent home a pack of manipulatives to every child. So we realised when they came in, having missed so much of reception, they were clearly so far behind. So we felt that that was good to invest our catch-up fund into providing them with them. But obviously, the year 2s don't have those resources at home. So we've suggested through pictures that we've added to our teaching slides, things that they can use at home. So even suggesting that the longer ones like the cotton buds and the lollipop sticks, use those to represent the 10s, and the smaller ones, the 1s. If you're using pasta, spaghetti can be 10s, macaroni can be the 1s. Got a picture here of an egg box. I wanted to find a picture of a 10s to use as a 10 frame egg box. So that's actually has 12 in there, but encouraging using really natural materials as well. And this picture here is actually of my daughter a good few years ago. We were on the beach and she was counting the stones, and I was saying, oh, I wonder what would happen if we put them in groups of 10, would they be easier to count? So again, it's an opportunity for us to model that language to the parents. And for their own mental health, they need to be getting outside, not just sat in front of the screen as much as we're asking them to. So again, this, to encourage movement as much as possible, this website here, We're Teachers Active Maths Games, I found 20 different activities there that could be easily done at home. We've been encouraging lots of dice games, and if children haven't got dice, using spinners. Again, you get a lot of mileage out of the spinners. This game here, the snowman, is one I just made up. Instead of hangman, we do snowman. The kids absolutely love it. We started off doing it for number words. So 44 here is a really good one to get them to do. And seeing it as a game that they can then do at home as well on their set by themselves. And they really have been doing that. We've been asking them, give a thumbs up, thumbs down. Have they been doing that? I think you're going to hear about this website, the Math Snacks, a bit later on in more detail. But this game, Naughty Numbers, is the one to go to if you're Key Stage 1. That was a really good activity that I tried with the children for finding the difference, a fun way of them understanding the find a different concept without even realising that they were in a math lesson. So we're still using our trusty white rose, but we found again, like Lizzie mentioned in the classroom, replacing Jack and Alex with puppets makes it much more interesting and more engaging. So that we can still be front loading those misconceptions in our Zoom activities before they go on to do the maths lessons. We're doing multiplication at the moment in year 2, and this story here from this amazing website, Math Through Stories, I highly recommend it because you can click onto it and it gives you really easy to find maths under every maths topic, stories that link to that and with their age groups. And they've got a few like this one which are actually read alouds, and they've got the book there if you can't actually physically get hold of the book, so that's obviously good at the moment. BBC resources have been really good, and Super Movers, they're used to using that in class. And to be honest, just in these strange times, I've been clicking onto Joe Chansini's Fraction Song just to lift my spirits. That's well worth a look, I think. So as I said, this is in a simple Word document. I'll send it on to Jenny so she can send it out. So you can cut and paste, send it straight to parents if that's helpful, but definitely look further at the links. So I hope I've stuck to my 5 minutes.
Annabelle, thank you so much. That's so engaging, so again positive and encouraging to get families and children all involved together. And I love the idea that you can just cut and paste some of those links straight onto your website, perhaps, or again, put them in, regularly for regular updates for parents and for supporting for teachers in the Key Stage 1 and younger and older as well. I'm sure lots of mileage for adapting those. Absolutely brilliant. And thank you for mentioning the ATM math snacks. They're coming up later as well, but they are such a good resource, aren't they? So we're now going to go over to Joe. Thank you for hanging in there with us this afternoon. We are coming close to the end of the agenda, but we've still got a few absolutely key items still to share with you today. So I know that Joe Peckham's school really support Maths No Problem, flagship school for that, I believe. And you're also going to talk about how you've had to adapt again under this change of remote learning. So thank you, Joe. Over to you.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to try and share my screen with you. Hopefully you can see it now. Can you see that? Okay, can you see my screen? Yeah, great. So we are a Maths No Problem school, and we've been using it with Seesaw, which I know lots of you are using. So our aim in this lockdown was really to deliver the same lessons online that we would have been delivering in school. And the children, they're really used to the structure of these Maths No Problem lessons, so they're really familiar with what is expected. So what we do is just like Emma's talked about earlier, we upload the slides that we would have used in class. So we need to sort of convert them to PDFs, and then we can put voiceovers on them. And, we guide the children through the in focus tasks. And then the children complete the guided practice and the independent tasks by simply typing onto the worksheets. And I'll show you what that looks like. So we don't do live lessons, but these lessons can be accessed at any time. And some of the slides include videos, not just voiceovers, but videos of teachers modeling a method or using a resource. And I know someone earlier mentioned, can you use a video that's more than 5 minutes? And we found that you can upload a video on each slide. So slide 1 could have a 5-minute video, but then your second slide could also have a 5-minute video as well. So this is just what a typical year 4 lesson might look like. We would do it. Slide 1 would be a little recap. What have we learned so far about line graphs? And that would have a voiceover, so you can see the play button. The teacher would guide the children through their recap. Then we would introduce the in focus task, again with a voiceover, and encourage the children to pause the video and have a go at the in focus task. And then slide 3, this is an example of a teacher modeling how to draw a line graph. And you can see here she's using just some post-it notes as a ruler, just to show children that you don't actually have to have a ruler at home to be able to draw a line graph. So just being creative with resources as well. And then children would go on to complete the guided practice, and they're really used to doing this in class. So, they can easily access that at home as well. And here you can see they've just scribbled their answers on, but they can type their answers onto that as well using Seesaw, or some children have been printing off worksheets as well if they've got access to a printer. And then finally, they complete their independent work or their worksheet, again, just by typing on it, scribbling on it, and uploading it to Seesaw. And here's an example just of a typical year 1 lesson. So again, lower down the school, you might start off with an introductory video rather than just a voiceover. So here a teacher is talking about or modelling how to subtract. A little picture there of the useful resources that they might find around the house that are going to help them with this activity. And then again, the third slide would be the teacher modelling again how to subtract 4 using tens frames here. And then finally, when they go onto the worksheet, often lower down the school, we would add up voiceovers to the worksheets as well, just to help guide the children through that worksheet or to read the questions out loud. And in terms of differentiation, so some children receive specific lessons. Sometimes these are from the year below, if they can't access the content of the year they're in. And all children are given the opportunity to do a challenge activity as well. And as teachers, we would actively encourage certain children to complete that challenge activity. And like a lot of other people on here, we give, as soon as children upload their worksheets or their work to Seesaw, we would look through them, give them feedback. And I think being able to give them feedback throughout the day is really motivating them and keeping them going. Yeah, so if you've got any questions on using Maths No Problem or Seesaw, I'm happy to help out with that. So I'm going to hand over to Miriam now, I think.
Yeah, and Sarah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Joe, really helpful. Miriam and Sarah, greater depth, please, to finish us off this afternoon.
Yes, screen, here we go. Okay, so this is less about kind of technical things and more about content. If we were in school, we would always be making sure that we were building greater depth opportunities into our provision for the children. And so we're just saying really how, even though the children are at home and we can't be with them, we can't always see them all the time, let's see if we can find some easy ways to provide opportunities for all children to have access to challenge and greater depth, which I know many of my colleagues have already spoken about. We have been working on at the Maths Hub a course called, which is all about greater depth and assessment at greater depth. And we're sharing with you here what we have sort of classified as sort of 7 strategies for adding depth to pretty much any maths topic that you are teaching. So without having to necessarily go and search for something, if you bear or keep this crib sheet handy, you can add depth to any question and any topic that you are doing. So the first one is ranking activities. The second one is things to do with asking the question, what if? What if I changed one of the variables? What if you had a higher target number? Explain, asking children to explain anything and explain their reasoning leads to depth opportunities. Asking children to explore how many different ways they can find the answer to a problem or how many ways they can represent it is another way of finding depth and achieving depth. No number problems, and there's a great website, I think website, Sarah, if I'm right, it's called nonumbersproblems.com. And also using variation itself, we can build depth into our activities and our tasks for the children. And finally is create, asking children to create their own questions and their own mathematical problems. So obviously I've just skimmed through those, but I want to share with you a couple of examples of what that might look like in practice. And as we're doing that, think about where are we putting the opportunities for depth, when are they occurring in the lesson, and how are they signposted? And these are more, we're thinking about here more just the tasks that have been set here, and these ones are from year 2. So again, just to flag up really as well, Enrich is a fantastic treasure trove of investigations and problem solving activities for children. So if you want to have something that is that diverts from sort of your standard lesson, don't forget about problem solving and how interesting that can be for children to do with a parent as well. Within that, on top of the normal activity, here we have the super challenge. And the super challenge here is, can you find other solid shapes and continue the activity? And what do you notice about the number of straws, number of balls? So this was an example of explaining and children finding how many ways. Just a simple additional question added on to an already rich activity. Again, we keep talking about Gareth Metcalfe, but here he is again. He fantastic way he phrases some of his questions with these different levels. I have found one way, I have found more than one way, and I've found all the ways, and I can prove it. And you can apply that strategy to to a full range of maths topics and tasks. It's brilliant. And then again, signposted with my little star and rainbow here, a super challenge, always thinking about those children that whip through the work that you've given them. There is something for them to get their teeth in, so they're still being challenged and stretched at home. And this would fall into the how many ways category. Here again, another fantastic and rich activity, and Rich have a whole home learning section as well. So there's some ones that have been pre-chosen by the team there, which was well worth a look at. And again here, just a simple couple of questions at the end. Can you vary the target to make it easier or more difficult? Did you discover a strategy to help you win? So are they working systematically? Can you explain it? So again, what if and explain are simply deepening an already rich activity. And this game of NIM, a good mathematical game, a historical mathematical game, really good fun. I had lots of great feedback from the children and families that enjoyed playing this together. But again, a bit of variation here, because to suggest to the children with the little star and rainbow to try and vary the rules, change the number of beans, the number of piles, just changing one element of the game. Some children will take this and run and come up with the most amazing versions of their own game of NIM. And again, this was a, sort of touches on what the EYFS team were talking about, but also this idea about creativity. And this is a kind of challenge you could use not just in year 2, you could use it across the school, but asking the children to create their own episode. So to see if they can choose a concept and do the mathematical thinking behind how they might explain that concept using their creative skills. And we had people use the movie strip there and sort of colour and draw pictures and write what would happen. And we had other families and children that took it to stop animation and had a lot of fun with that, and some children acting it out. So again, maths can be so different and so creative, and we want to keep that wonder and awe and that depth going even when they're not with us in the classroom. I'm going to hand over to Sarah now, who's going to talk to you about some ideas for year 4 as well.
I just want to give you a few examples from a year 4 session that I did remotely last week. So these examples are all lifted straight away from the NCET MPD spines, which we use for our scheme of work at my school. And what I've done is I've just put in some questions around the same kind of theme, but just some questions to add depth. And I'm a real advocate of all children being able to access depth. And from that starting, straight away, after I've done, like a little recap, check that children have got the kind of prerequisite knowledge that they need. Then I'm straight in with the first question, complete the calculations, rank these calculations from easiest to hardest, say why a calculation is easier and why a calculation is harder, because the whole lesson was about whether they're bridging over one in this particular case. And then number 2, they had to write a set of rules. So it's straight away, it's going on to kind of explanation, setting out column addition and subtraction for an alien that's just landed in our class. That should have said, for a decimal addition and subtraction, but I did explain that to the students. And then there's a mistake there, so it's correcting the mistake and working out what that is. Can you click on, please, Miriam? And then one of my other favourite websites, so we've talked a lot about Gareth Metcalfe, who's, is probably my top kind of go-to resource, but my second one is probably openmiddle.com along with Enrich. So on openmiddle.com, they've got loads of open-ended questions, which are suitable for all year groups. And it's an American website, so you can just have a look and choose the grade, or you can just search by topic. I kind of adapted one that was already there, but using only the digits 0 to 9 once each. What is the greatest total you can make, and what is the smallest total you can make? So if children have got paper at home, they could make their own little number cards, or if they've got post-it notes, they could use those, and it's quite a nice activity to do. And my children just took pictures of what they'd done and sent that in to me, so it was really interesting to see. And lots of parents got engaged with that as well, so it's quite a nice little kind of puzzle. And then the next one, Miriam, thank you. And then another one that's very, very similar, but looking at the difference. And then the kind of question at the end there was, can you make 0.9? Why or why not? You've got to explain your reasoning. And then if you can click on again, Miriam. And then this one is from a very kind of heavy going book that I was reading about variation about this time last year before the maths conference, because I was doing a session on variation then, and it had this fantastic problem in it. And I've just adapted it here for decimals, so that it fits what my class is doing. So if the result has 4 digits, where the first 3 are integers and the next one is the decimal digit, with the decimal placed as shown, do I need to uncover all or some of the covered digits? So if you imagine there are numbers hiding under each of those cards, how many do we have to uncover so that our answer is of the form digit, 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 decimal point, and then another digit? And loads of parents got involved with this and really had some fun with it. So it was really quite interesting. And I did say, you know, please do get your parents to help, because it's quite a challenging question for you to do. But they really engaged with it and really enjoyed it.
Sarah,
yeah,
are you doing these live with the children, or are you pre-recording them?
So these are done live. So we in my school, we're spending about 15 minutes doing a live session for years 3, 4, 5 and 6. And then we're also doing some recorded Loom videos as well.
Thank you, that's really helpful.
We're giving them time afterwards to get on with them, but they can still contact us by email or whatever, or via Teams.
Thanks.
In Key Stage 1, we're tending to do 1 live session a day and then 1 Loom or 2 Loom videos later on in the day. I'm going to hand back to Miriam.
So this has already been mentioned, and actually it was interesting that Annabelle shared the naughty numbers, as my son was set this task last week, and he might be this week actually, he loved it and I loved it. So again, the Association of Teachers of Mathematics have provided an absolute fantastic library of short videos that explain the activity for you and give just some really fun things to enrich the diet of what we're offering them, really. So that's just another signpost for you, and we can, you know, we're using it ourselves and recommend it to you. Just really flagging up, Sarah and I have been running, just begun our first session on a course all about these 7 strategies for greater depth and how to assess greater depth. Talking yesterday, we wondered actually if anything that we've been talking about has piqued your interest today, and you are interested, then please do contact the Maths Hub and register your interest. The course currently says fully booked, but as we are running online, we think we can perhaps rerun our first session potentially if we have enough interest. So just let us know, and we'll see if we can make that happen.
On that note, Miriam, I've also put into the chat a link to the subject knowledge course that's being run by the Maths Hub at the moment. So if anyone's interested in that link's directly in the chat, or it's also on the Maths Hub website, so people can get a much broader perspective. If that's something that everyone wants to take away from today, that's also available.
Thank you. And here we've made a Padlet, and my pictures are over here, but you can scan the QR code, or I'm going to put this into the chat in a moment. I'll have to stop sharing my screen, but I'll put a code link into the chat. And when you go to that, we would like you to add comments in any of these boxes here, any of your top tips for remote learning, any fantastic resources that you found and why you enjoyed using them, and just any other things that you think might be helpful to our Sussex Maths teachers community. It's been brilliant to have you all here today, and so many gems to take away with us. So I'm just going to stop sharing. Padlet is so easy to use. I need to make sure that I pop it in the chat, so let me do that now.
Thank
And
you.
then,
and Sarah, could you introduce your Mentimeter, please?
Yes.
oh yeah.
After Miriam shared, I will just, I've already put in the link for Mentimeter, and that is,
Yep.
I'll do that. You can evaluate the course.
Thank you.
So moving on again, we've got another, this is the, Sarah, you talk through it.
Okay, so if you click on menti.com, so if you can either use your phone or you can go on the device that you're working on, and if you enter the code 979539, there are 2 different slides. This one, we just want you to rate the statements that are there. I'm not going to read through them because you can all read those for yourselves. Just rate them with 1 being low and 10 being high, so that we can get some feedback about today's session. And the second slide is open-ended. So if there's anything that you want to cover in another session like this, or that you think would be beneficial to you. So if you want more on the ready to progress criteria, if you want more about something in particular, if there's something we haven't covered today, please just put it in there and we will see what we can do to appease you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That is brilliant. So what we'd like you to do now, as I say, is basically add to our Padlet. Please evaluate today's session on Mentimeter. And just regarding, in our flyer, we mentioned about PlayStations being repurposed for remote learning. I think it was in the TES last Friday about that. I know some of our teachers at school have been trying to get their own PlayStations to talk to Google Classroom, for example, and haven't been successful apart from being able to actually interface rather than be able to actually respond in that. So if anyone's got any top tips on that, please, again, don't be shy about sharing, because we are struggling a little bit. And I know the TES did have an article though in last Friday, so you go to tes.com and find it very easily if you're interested in that, trying again to find more ways of engaging those hard to reach families and families who are disadvantaged with tech but might have an Xbox lying around maybe. So it's worth, again, seeing if anyone can look into that for us. Thank you. And as I say, if you'd like another session after today's session in a couple of weeks maybe, and you've got requests for that, we would love to hear from you. So please, again, do type into the chat now, or again, I'll add into the Padlet. Let us know what you would like, and we can turn things around quite quickly and get something advertised. We only planned this session last Thursday night, so as I say, we can move very quickly if there's a need. And we all know we're going to be remote teaching at least till half term, but let's face it, no one knows, it could go on longer. So if you really feel you'd like that collaboration, that support there from a wide team of people across Sussex, let's all pool our ideas and let's share the load together. So thank you to all the panel this evening. It's been absolutely wonderful to have so many contributors, so many amazing ideas and such energy throughout the whole session, because we've had so many different voices coming to share their experiences tonight. And again, real practitioners talking to other real practitioners, we think is just absolutely just wonderful. And thank you again to everyone who's joined us. We hope you found this helpful. We've got lots of ideas to follow up, as I say. And if you've got, again, things we've missed tonight, please let us know. We don't profess to have all the answers, but we're certainly very keen to develop our skills along with you, and say we can keep brushing up and improving and looking outward all the time to try and make the children's experience the best it possibly can be, and to keep them engaged and keep them learning and keep them making progress. So thank you so much.
I'd just say as well, with the Padlet, once we have lots of contributions to it, we will take, I think it's anonymised, so we'll take a screenshot of it and get all the ideas out to you, or it might be what we look at next time. So do please take a couple of minutes if you've got some nuggets to share with us.